pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're just a few minutes late because our work session did go over just a little bit. This is regular board meeting, February 25th, 7 p.m. If the clerk would call the roll, please.
Brown?
Here.
Hillman?
Here.
Neiman?
Here.
Underwood?
Here.
Mauser?
Here. Okay, we have an agenda, and also I guess we have a blue sheet here. Everybody got the blue sheet with the change. Had a chance to look at it. We move to approve the agenda with the items F and G added. We have motion and support. Any discussion? Okay, clerk, call the roll, please.
Hillman?
Yep.
Neiman?
Here.
Underwood?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Mauser?
Yes. Pleasure. Okay. So we have an agenda and approval of it. Anybody who would wish to bring forth a conflict of interest? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to public comment. If the clerk would read the rules.
Any person may make an advanced appointment with the board regarding road commission topics for a regular or special meeting in accordance with the Opens Meeting Act. If an appointment is made, the topic will be an agenda item. The following applies to public comments. Please state his or her name and address. Topic must be relevant to the road commission. Individuals are allowed to speak once for up to 3 minutes on a single topic, which may be extended by the chair. A group addressing the board requires a designated spokesperson who may speak up to 10 minutes. The board will not act on any item from the public that is not on the agenda. For Zoom users, if you wish to participate, please raise your hand. For any call-ins, we will unmute you. If you wish to speak, say yes.
Okay. Do we have anybody making such an indication, and whatever time limit we need to apply to that?
We have one, we have a couple of them.
We do. We got Mike Skursky was first here. Someone on to talk.
Okay.
There you go. We can hear you, Mike.
All right, thanks. Yeah, Mike Skursky, 14696 Mallard Drive, Traverse City. I'm here to basically talk about the closure at Bluff Road. I'm the president of the Mission Hills HOA, also a property owner on Bluff Road, and also talking for a number of other property owners. What we're looking at is we've been getting project plans and bids, et cetera, from a number of contractors for basically shoreline reinforcement. And we were expecting to see the report from GEI when I last talked with Wayne, something end of February or mid-March, and it appears that deadline is going to pass. And what we're really looking for is see if we could speed that contract up so that we can then start joining together and looking at the activity that needs to go forth on that shoreline. I've got I've got multiple Eagle permits that we're putting together, and basically the scope of work and the timing and access issues that we need to agree upon, because we'll be needing, you know, your approval on access to the road, and also since the cliff runs in and out of the right of way and private properties, we want to minimize the cost to each of us in bringing this thing under control again. And we really, and while we're seeing low levels of water right now, we don't want to lose the season and have to encounter some more damage to the shoreline and the roadway. And I guess that's kind of what I want to do, but also just introduce you to some recent legislature called Storm that is being run through FEMA. Started with Peters, the senator from Michigan. And this is a system, a structure where erosions and such that what we're seeing can be getting some low interest loans and maybe even grants through the FEMA organization. And our information is that this will be administered in Michigan through MDOT, not through Eagle as some of the initial indications were. So I remain the point of contact from the HOA and also from a number of the land adjacent property owners for trying to put together an operating plan with two of us. So I'm asking basically if we can, complete that negotiation, which I think is where it still stands, and get that to an active project so we can really start looking at answers rather than just, continually looking at questions.
Okay. You're kind of putting us in a little bit of a spot here because it being a public comment with the rules for public comment. There is a certain, give and take that doesn't occur in public comment or is not supposed to.
Right.
So I guess we'll say that we're taking your comments under advisement and would recommend that you either, I guess, get directly with engineering with manager or set this up as an appointment if there's specific proposals that we need to talk about so we can have a dialogue on it rather than strictly as a public comment.
Okay, that's not a problem. I will contact engineering and get a timing update, and then we can make an appointment if required.
You're still welcome to make your comments, but there are.
No, I understand there's no action on the
which
comments.
forums are used for what?
Yep. Okay.
Okay, we have one more, a David McGreeham. Okay, David, you can talk.
Can you hear me now?
He's got two computers on.
David, do you have two? If you have a phone on and your computer, it's gonna have a lot of reverb. You have to shut one off or mute one.
Yeah.
Let's try it again.
So whatever device he's not talking, it needs to be shut down.
Right. He's trying to watch it and have
It's like two speakers.
Can you go down to the other one, boot the other one off?
yeah, I don't know. David, if you could indicate what number you might be on the.
He logged out the one allowed. Maybe the other one allowed. That's inviting.
I wonder if he's
Go down a few more. No, go down a few more. Two more.
There's two more.
There you go to top that.
Oh,
All right.
this one.
I can ask him to unmute. Yeah, well, it moves it up, but it's,
You can try to unmute that one, David.
Check with the phone people. Nice.
did you ask him to unmute? You said?
I'll try it again, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Hello? You can try to talk now, David. I think we can hear you.
Okay, how's the echo doing? I'm really sorry about the technical issues on this end. My name's Dave McGreeham. I live at 5680 Bay Meadows Drive, and I'm the vice president of the Bay Meadows Homeowners Association. And I'm here today to talk about the need to resurface parts of Barney Road. I've been doing some research over the past year or so, and I've spoken with a gentleman named Ron in maintenance, with Brad Kaczynski, and with Chuck Horn. And there's an obvious need to resurface a part of Barney Road that's probably 400 to 600 yards long on the east end near where it goes into Cedar Run Road. It has multiple potholes and the surface is peeling away, and fixing the potholes just isn't going to work anymore. I've learned that this is what's considered a local road, and that potentially there's supposed to be a special assessment of the homeowners on that part of the road, but there are only about 4 dwellings that have driveways on that stretch of road. On the other hand, a lot of folks from our homeowners association, from the Bay Meadows Golf Course, from Gray Road, and a lot of other subdivisions as well, use this road to get down into town. So my understanding is, short of a special assessment, that this kind of falls back to the road commission and maybe the township to figure out how to fund a way to resurface that road. This past summer, there was a lot of shoulder work done. There were some big washouts, and the shoulders had to be redone a couple of times because of the heavy rain, and we appreciate that work. The road is better as far as the shoulders go. But I brought this back to my homeowners association and dropped off a petition to the road commission in January. Also dropped off a petition to Mr. Kaczynski and a copy to Mr. Korn as well. All the homeowners here have signed that petition and would like the road commission to explore what needs to be done as far as funding resurfacing that part of the road. So I'm here just to let you know that we're interested in maybe learning about next steps. I realize there are budgetary constraints and other constraints and priorities you have to work with, but we'd like to see that stretch of road get the attention that it deserves. Any questions?
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so just for clarity, I guess we'll reiterate the public comment is public
Yeah,
comment.
the callers cannot raise hands, so you do have one phone call. You want to unmute them and see if they want to talk.
1-808-954-2919. Would you like to speak? Go on.
You have not answered, so.
Hello.
Hi, this is Dan Olson with the Mission Hill Subdivision.
Did you want to speak?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo the comments that Mike Skursky made, and also just highlight, it's kind of time sensitive for us to iron out that access issue to Bluff Road. So we are looking forward to being able to preserve the shoreline there, which would benefit everyone. So I just perhaps maybe we schedule an appointment for the next board meeting, and we can kind of give an update of where we're at, and hopefully you folks can have some actionable decisions for us so that we can move forward with those contracts.
Okay. Is there anybody else on for public comment? We have to wait 30 seconds.
That's it. We're good.
Yeah, we're all done. Okay. All right, moving on, I guess to the next item is the action items appointments. Apparently there are no appointments. B is the consent calendar. I'll look to the clerk.
The consent calendar is used to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together without discussion. Requests by any person present to remove any item from the consent calendar for full discussion as an agenda item are automatically respected. The action noted in parentheses for all the items remaining on the consent calendar are approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. The manager recommends the following items be adopted. 1, minutes. 2, payroll. 3, accounts payable. 4, financial reports. 5, reports and communications.
Okay, are there any items, any commissioner would wish removed from the consent calendar? Hearing none, a member of the public or anyone who would wish to speak up now? Is this the 30-second thing?
No.
No? Okay, we have no response, so I guess we would need a motion to accept the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented.
We have support? Support. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I guess roll call.
Raymond,
Yes.
Underwood,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Mauser.
Yes. Item C, items removed, there were none, so we'll go right past that. D, resolution of support for year 2024 local bridge program applications.
Kick Wayne in.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Tonight we have, we're asking for support from you for the local bridge program submission of 2 applications. These are the same applications as submitted last year that we were unsuccessful in receiving aid on. We have Diamond Park Road over the Little Betsy River. It's a 42-foot long single span pre-stressed concrete box beam that was constructed in 1970 and is currently load reduced and is on 12-month inspection process. That project there, we are looking at doing a superstructure replacement. And the estimated costs on that are $680,000. And this would be our first priority due to the load restrictions. Our second application that we're looking for support for is Bitener Road over the Boardman River. This is a 44-foot long twin multi-plate culverts on concrete footings that was constructed in 1980. That's got capacity issues and heavy corrosion issues. This is a much larger, expensive structure that's estimated revised upward here to $2.7 million. This one also, because of the size of and cost of the structure estimate, this would be triggered as a large bridge in the north region and would automatically be sent down to the local bridge advisory board in Lansing. And in order to try to garner additional support, we would ask that, as we did last year, that we would increase the minimum local match from the 5% required to a 20% match. And that would help gather more points for that structure.
We did the 20 last year, is that right, Wayne?
That is correct.
Anybody have any other questions for Wayne specifically on these 2 particular projects and grant application?
The ones we're doing on Garfield and River Road, same thing. We had to go through this cycle about 3-4 years to make the project happen. So it's just a continuation, I think, of that procedure. Is that correct, Wayne?
That is absolutely correct.
We just keep trying until hopefully we're successful, or they fail.
Well, I'll make a motion that we reapply for these 2 bridges, with the increase from the 5 to the 20 for that other project. And then we'll to hopefully kick us in line a little quicker.
Support. Okay, so we have motion and support. Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, I guess we go to a roll call.
Underwood,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
Bowser.
Yes. Item E, CRA Road Commissioners Code of Conduct. I guess CRA got together a bunch of folks and sat around and came up with a code of conduct. We did then attach it to this and send it out. I looked through it. I didn't set it side by side to any documentation we currently have. I don't know that there's any big changes here or that it's anything particularly.
It's
Good or
not
bad?
earth-shatteringly different. We currently have several policies that kind of get wrapped up into this, so that by adopting this as our Commissioner's Code of Conduct as a policy through the Road Commission, that allows us to eliminate some of the other policies we have, and it makes it standard pretty much with the rest of the road commissions, because the road commissions that have received it, you know, everyone's pretty much of the understanding that this is the way it should be. There's nothing substantially different, I guess, or out of line. It's just basically talking about, you know, respect of the public, talking about being ethical, talking about being maintaining discretion when things are of a confidential nature, and then how to run a meeting. And we do that pretty well compared to what they say.
Any questions of any commissioners, clarifications, points of contentiousness?
It's just stuff, just fluff. I have no interest. I wouldn't support it. So that's just, it's unnecessary. Bottom line is we do have an ethics policy of sorts. We do have our own conduct of sorts already. And then there is state law that actually governs all the rest of it. There's no sense in complicating things further, and I have no reason to support it.
Anybody else? Questions, comments, thoughts?
I kind of agree with Jason. I think we have our own stuff in place, and everything else, like you said, is already in place. It's just another, you know, maybe justification of their existence, maybe.
Yep.
I guess.
Let's do a Zoom call and come up with a list of things. I mean, that's where this came.
I would say that. Joe, any?
Well, the only thing I can think of is this would be standardized throughout the state, that if the county would bring this up, and it would replace, as Brad said, the stuff that we already have in place, but we do have in place stuff that covers this anyway, correct?
Yeah, and that's what
So it's,
would happen, is we would be coming back to remove some policies after this was passed.
And old sayings are okay, pretty good sometimes. They say if it ain't broke, why fix it? If what we have has served us well and doesn't have any glaring discrepancies, you know, are we just sort of being wokey and saying, yeah, I want to be part of that club too, even though it serves no purpose or makes any difference? I guess that's really the question. I'm sure it's a very innocuous document. Good for you, CRA guys. I mean, we're CRA guys, but the CRA guys that took the time and the staff and the effort to put this together. I found that, you know, when we go, like Joe and I went to that workshop, and I don't go to many of them, but it seems like we sit there and we hear these learned speakers come by and tell us all these wonderful things we need to do to be a better road commission. And we kind of sit there and saying, didn't we start doing that about 10 years ago? But anyway, I guess I don't really see, unless there's some glaring need for this, that we really, you know, need to do it, I guess. So it's nice. We've looked at it. If there's bits and pieces of it, one or two things here that we could cull from it and add it to our quiver, okay, but I don't know if I am overwhelmingly excited about throwing out the baby and the bathwater and drawing a new path. Okay, I guess if we were going to do this, it would be a resolution and we would need a motion to do that. So is there a motion to adopt this CRA suggested code of conduct? Hearing none, I guess we would say it would die for lack of support.
Okay. Alright,
Okay, we've got item F, an 80-foot tracked conveyor.
okay, this is to replace the old conveyor we have, which I don't know if any of you guys have seen it in action here, but we use a hopper that has been welded together and a truck that would not make it down the road to simply sit there and run and operate a conveyor as we dump stuff into it to load this conveyor to launch it up into the sand pile. And in order to move this conveyor, because we have to move it pretty regularly, it could take us, because of the nature of what we're trying to do here, a half an hour every time you've got to move this conveyor. And it's not something that's easy. That truck is on the verge of dying anyway. So we need a new conveyor.
Let's just run a PTO or something.
It's actually using the spreader to load the conveyor on the hopper to launch it up. So we don't have any other setup. So we are looking to purchase a conveyor, and the tracked conveyor, the ability that it gives us is to load the barn more efficiently with salt, and it can actually track, from a stationary point, it can back and forth and then pull back a little bit and back and forth so that we can double stack without having to violate my OSHA rules of running a loader up onto the pile.
Is it something that we'll be able to use in our secondary location as well?
Yes. Yeah, and it'll also be used out at the pit where we make our own sand. It's the exact length that fits on the new lowboy that we picked. So it works out well. It makes it able to get down the road quick. Originally, we had recommended one for a purchase from AIS, but upon clarification from them, their system is not, in fact, a radio controlled operation. You actually have to get out of the loader to flip a switch for you to be able to then move the conveyor. So the one that we're looking at, the person in the loader is able to move that hopper or that loader, that conveyor, right from where he is. He dumps in and he can move it as he needs to be, and it takes him 30 seconds to a minute to realign it. And then back up, and we can do this all. We can get far more sand into the barn or salt into the barn that way. It'll be beneficial down at Kingsley with the new barn because we can get more salt into the new barn in Kingsley, and it will definitely help us out when we're producing sand. As we're planning on making potentially 2.5 to 3 years worth of sand in one summer, to try and do it with the conveyor we have now is just not practical. And to have it being a one-man operation is crucial to make it so that guy doesn't have to continuously be jumping down to adjust it and you can't see it. So Mavericks was a little bit more expensive, like a couple $1,000, but it is the remote control, the radio controlled operation that we want.
And the rental on that was like $1,800 a week, and then there's delivery of $1,800 around.
I'd make the motion that we authorize the purchase of the McCloskey ST80T from Maverick for $114,000,900.
Do your support for that? Okay, we have motion and support. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, I guess we need a roll call.
Brown?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Underwood?
Yes.
Mulder?
Yes. And on that, I think, Carl, we can remember when we didn't have a.
We did not. It was all done with the loader.
Yeah, all done with the
File,
loader.
drive, they made their own road up the side of the file.
Yeah.
And that was pretty common practice. doing dirt work.
Yeah, they frown upon that.
Yeah, but that was common practice.
So this is like
Not that
somebody
was safe
said,
practice.
maybe when we bought this old one. It was
So-
state of the art.
Yes.
Okay, that puts that behind us. Okay, policy update discussion.
Okay. We sat down as a staff and started going through policies, and we found a lot of policies that really do not need to be legally or really operationally. We feel they don't need to be a policy because we cover them in the rules or in the union contract or a combination of both. So as you go through these, I'd like to just kind of quickly go through them, and if anybody, I don't know if you've all had a chance to read them or look even at them, but we can give you an idea of what we're going through, and then we can say, okay, yes, get rid of it. No, we want to keep it, or we want to keep it, but we need to make modifications, because we'll talk, Phil and I have been going through this with a couple other people here on staff to make sure.
Because I believe this was not in the packet, correct?
No,
we just got it.
today.
So I don't know if you've seen, that's what I'm saying, the three of you might have seen the policy manual in the past.
Well, we have, but
It's been a while,
this
so
is.
these are
right.
effectively policies we feel that can be gotten rid of.
So
Um,
I think that would be a good methodology here, since we jumped out of a look at it and do them one by one and say, no brainer. Yeah, that's, or let's ponder it. Okay.
Okay, so we have court duty. We currently have a jury duty for the union employees in the contract. We recommend moving this to be combined with a jury duty, because this could also be somebody from up in administration who's called to testify on behalf of the road commission. Either way, it covers this. It does not cover anything that is your own personal court duties. And that would be spelled out, but it would be just simply covered in the rules for the admin employees, and it would be covered in the union contract, which it already is for union employees.
So you're essentially gonna add it to the.
We're just gonna move it into the rules, the administrative rules that govern how everything goes. Because it's kind of like more of a personnel issue as opposed to, you know, what we're doing here.
And we're gonna probably see a little bit of that throughout this.
Yeah, a lot of these things are gonna be, that we're not necessarily getting rid of them. We're just moving them to where they are more appropriate for how employees understand what is directive from board versus administrative rules versus union rules. And then also we have our safety rules. So there's some things that'll go into a safety manual that we are getting going on real quick now. We've got a good safety committee going, so.
Okay, so specifically, where are you?
This would go into the administrative rules.
Okay, so rather than a policy number, it would be an administrative rule.
Right.
Okay, so let's make this, one black ball vote that goes into the reconsider pile, but if everybody's comfortable with doing that, we can put it in the, let's go ahead and do it. If anybody has any, second thoughts about it, we'll put it in
Makes sense.
the, look at it and bring it up again pile. Okay, everybody's kind of good with this one, good to go? Okay, court duty policy, B, is it BI dash 2A?
Yeah, keep a list of them.
That goes in the okay pile.
Okay. The application process, I don't know why this was a policy necessarily, but we can't even follow this anymore to realistically get candidates, because nobody reads the local newspaper. We do still post for union positions on the backboard as per the union contract, but when we put out applications, we use places like Indeed. We don't use the newspaper. We try to hit as many people as we can. So as technology changes, we feel this again is a internal activity that governs us. And that's kind of like an HR classification. It's going to fall into what HR's responsibilities are instead of being an actual policy. And they will make sure that we get the applications from as many people as we can and cover as much ground as we can effectively.
Okay, on this policy, I a yes, a no, think about it.
Just to clarify, I mean, when there is an opening and you, in administration, for example, the staff still has an opportunity to see it on the board anyway. That's in there.
Well, we let everybody know that there is, the union has a posting for union positions.
Okay.
But we also have a board by HR that covers all openings that we have. And everybody up here has a Grand Traverse County Road Commission email address, so they would get it by email. People in the back do not, so they have the board by HR. It's not on the union board if it's not a union position.
Okay, but it is posted locally.
Yes. Yeah, for all of our people to see. They have a way to see. Always. And they also can look on the online, because we have an online portal to see everything that's happening with the road commission.
I guess my only thought is, you know, do we just do that as a matter of course, or do we do that because we have a policy that says that we should be doing
We
that?
always want to let everybody know.
Yeah.
We're actually, that's one of my discussions for later about building a plan for people, because we
Okay.
actually have someone on the crew who's actually going to school and he wants to someday be a manager here. That's perfect. Keep them going, keep them moving up. So
Okay, so do you have a consensus on putting this in the
HR,
In the
HR
Go
procedures.
HR.
and move it to HR procedures? Okay, or is it IV-2 or 1?
It's IV,
IV-2.
section 4-2. The only one where we have a classification plan per se, and that is for the union. Pretty much everybody else, it's one. There's one person in each of the positions, except for our engineering inspectors. Everybody else, there's just one of them. So, but the union has the classifications, and those are built into the union contract. So to do anything else, it would be a negotiation between us and the union, and you guys will be the ones that approve the union contract, so you'll see it anyway when it goes to be approved. So as a nature of how this is done, it's spelled out in far more detail in the union contract than it is in this. So therefore, this really is not even necessary for us at this point.
Questions, discussion? Everybody happy with?
To be covered on union contract.
Covered with the resolution?
I can see some, you know, I mean, this is one of those, I can see someplace down the road where we say, okay, we have administration, we've set a framework for you to work within. And has the board ever, you guys have been here the longest, has the board ever really said, this is kind of where these positions, whether it be the traffic or it be the engineer, I mean.
As far as salaries?
Yeah, as far as salaries go.
No.
We just left that to the
That's
manager.
The manager.
Okay.
Right. And if the manager usually comes back with that to us.
Okay.
But yeah, and really the only one we control is the managers, other than he's coming back to us with the other ones.
Yeah.
That's.
And so typically what happens, like how it works now, because there are all these resources out there, you do a job description and you get benchmarks for the area, for the state, and it tells you, okay, for governmental, it's this range, for private sector, it's this range, and it's a total cost of employment. And Jennifer's been doing that for us now, where she just pulls, this is what this position is worth with the benefits that we currently offer.
Right, so that you operate off of that.
Yeah, and that's kind of the framework that I operate in based on their.
So this is.
It doesn't really matter at all. Doesn't affect anything.
Okay, so everybody's satisfied with that resolution of
Just gone.
Tier 1, gone.
Okay? Phil, I'm gonna let you cover this.
The comp in lieu of, so that's already in the Teamsters collective bargaining agreement under their healthcare where they negotiated that. We simply mirror that in our employee handbook and supplement. For administrative employees, if they choose to opt out, they get 50% of currently the hard cap for a single member. And the commissioners, it's limited to 2,000, which just follows the county's policy.
So we have a set of rules for the union
Unions and
employees, which is basically within the contract. And then we have the current,
And
our
as far as our
policy.
benefit package to the, non-union staff, this is incorporated into that.
So basically, we mirror whatever the union gets up here. So if the union negotiates something, then everybody else gets the same. It
Except-
just applies across.
except for the
you guys,
commissioners who,
which you guys have to follow the county.
we're tied in the same as the county commissioners.
That's yours.
So the county and the county commissioners set hours. So we have no control over that, basically. Anyway, so any questions on this from any other board member?
No, it sounds like everybody's covered under it.
So we're all content with the resolution of this as proposed.
Okay, and this, that's the right thing. It says deleted on it, but we don't have any record anywhere of it being deleted. So we'd like you to at least pass the motion to include this as deleted.
We don't have comp time.
We don't have
They did
any
when they
comp
had vacation and sick, and then it went to a PTO, and I think at that time.
Housekeeping. Yes, housekeeping. We just want the resolution so we can say, yes, we did remove it. It is not a policy at all.
Okay, so there is something somewhere that says it was deleted, but there's no backup that
Yeah.
confirms that.
We can't find any record in the minutes that shows it.
Okay, anybody have any problem with that resolution to this one? Okay, done deal. Conflict of interest policy.
Did you get the right, did you do the research on this one or not?
Well, this one was the one that they were gonna adopt. the
Yeah, that's
other
what I was
one, we
wondering
were gonna
about.
pull This one out.
So this one stays.
We'll want to keep this.
Yeah.
We need to keep this one.
All right.
Because this is what, yes, this was what was covered. If we had adopted the other one, then this one would have been covered. So we will now keep this one.
So that one puts over and stays in place.
We may need to update it, but we'll just.
We'll do that as another.
Update, bring it back.
Yep.
If it needs it. Okay, dress code and uniforms for employees.
Okay, the current way it is set up, it doesn't even follow this policy. This has changed many, many times throughout the years, talking to some of the employees that have been here since apparently this went into place and before. It's not quite really followed like this. It's kind of we have administrative policy or rules that we have in place. We don't allow people to wear ripped up jeans. We don't allow.
This is in your employee manual.
But this is the
handbook.
unions have a certain thing in there that talks about their dress code or their dress, how they're dressed or whatever, but they don't have a uniform, but it's the same thing. It's just, you're not allowed to wear anything offensive, and that's all covered in our rules. So it's covered, they have to follow it because it's in our general rules portion of the handbook that applies to everybody. And then, up front, we have a different standard. We have jeans on Friday pretty much and not every other day. So kind of, that's kind of thing different for us. But we don't follow some of the things that are in here, especially, there was a thing at one point that they could only wear hats if they were GTCRC hats, and then it changed. And pretty much we follow a lot of this, but like the staff, the $150 boot allowance, that's going to be changed in the union contract.
That's already in there.
But it's in the union contract, right? So it'll be changed there. So to have it in these multiple places, this really doesn't need to be here anymore. We feel it's more of an administrative thing. We keep them dressed. We make sure that they understand that they can't be wearing inappropriate shirts, and everything else seems fine.
So we're looking to remove this because of redundancy.
Yeah, because it's already in the rules.
I remember the hat.
Yeah, I remember the hat thing too.
Yeah.
It was from the safety
We had
meetings.
the safety meeting, and we get this hat, you guys give us this hat that says so-and-so on it, and now you're telling us we can't wear it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you can wear it. Go ahead. Okay,
All right.
so is everybody in agreement
Yeah.
with the removal of this because it's redundant? All right. Flexible spending plan.
So this is just a policy number. We actually have a separate flexible spending plan, cafeteria 125. that's not changing or anything. We're just looking to kind of clean up the numberings. And, you know, that plan will stay in place. I don't know who Dennis Gartland and DeGarth is. It looks like it was the last time they had TBA.
But we already have we already have the program in place and it's not going to change.
Okay, but again, this is a redundant policy. Anybody have any objections to removing this redundant? Okay, we'll put that in the go away here. Flexible spending plan union employees.
Same thing.
This is the extension of that.
One was related to Ed and then the other related to, we're not changing the plans at all.
So do we have any concerns
And that
about
was a
that?
resolution passed back in 2000.
Okay, so put that one in the go away. Okay, funerals, everybody gets one?
Yeah, eventually we all get one, we hope, right? The funeral leave is spelled out in the union contract and we mirror pretty close what the union contract says. The union contract is looking to be able to split their 3 days instead of having to be 3 days in a row, especially with COVID and dealing with it, but.
We talked about that.
Yeah, so we just want to leave it to what the union contract is and we'll follow the same plan.
Eliminating this policy going into the union. Okay, anybody have any concerns with that? Okay, we're all in agreement with that one.
So health insurance is next, right?
Yeah, that's in the collective bargaining agreement. Again, we have an Avalon supplement to the employee handbook that spells out all the benefits.
And we are by state law limited to the hard cap anyway. So we're not going to be, it's not like we can increase it to be exorbitant. The hard cap says what the hard cap says. That's the most we can spend. So.
Okay, any objections or concerns or further questions? Okay, so that one's resolved as well.
Okay, this one on holiday pay, the only thing we would like different, and this is something, instead of having this as a policy, when you guys meet in November to set the schedule for all of the next year's board commission meetings, also set the holiday calendar, because that's what the county does every year. The county board approves the holiday calendar. And that way, if things change or whatever has to be changed, because suddenly we decide, you know, we're not going to celebrate this as a holiday, but we're going to do this instead, you're just going to set the calendar every year for it then. Instead of us having, and we'll have the dates that it applies to. And then that is the record of when it is recognized here. Instead of it being, if the holiday falls on a Saturday, we normally recognize it on a Friday. So if you guys just say that as part of the calendar, that also then tells everybody out there on public record when the office will be closed. And you guys are agreeing that, yes, this is when we want the office to be closed. And we will bring that to you just in that same meeting when you have all of the rest of your commissioner, the board meetings set also. Does that sound?
You'll bring this forward every year.
Every year in November, when we bring back the schedule for next year's board meetings, we would also bring forth a schedule that says this is what we anticipate, this is what we have for holidays for next year. And then you guys approve it and it just goes into the matter of record that that's when the office is closed.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns?
Does that work?
That works. Yeah.
Well, there's another policy for just the holidays.
Well, yeah, this is holidays and holiday pay. These are both combined. So, and it basically is saying that, you know, they're going to get 8 hours of straight time of hourly pay. And we do that anyway, because we currently, under the current contract, we are under Fair Labor Standards. So they get paid their 8 hours. And when we have 10-hour days, they get paid 10 hours.
Some of these items are addressed in the union contract.
Yes.
Yeah, this one in particular only applies to
Administration. Okay.
Yeah, and it mirrors what
is admin only.
This mirrors what the union contract is, and it would be the same thing. what happens with the union pretty much happens with everybody. Because if the union's gonna be off for a day, the whole office is gonna be the same. It's not, we're not gonna try and have separate holidays or anything. So it'll fall in line the same way we would, and both of them will be covered.
Okay. Any other questions? Any questions or objections? We're in agreement then that this one goes in the go away pile.
Okay, immunization. This only applies if we use our own forces to clean the bathrooms for the state. And we don't do that. If you are cleaning public restrooms like that, you have to have a Hep B virus vaccine. You know, so we're not gonna do that. We're never gonna go back to doing that. It was horrible for the morale of the people that had to do it. And you don't want to have to force everybody to get an immunization. So it meant whoever gets immunized, basically they're going to be cleaning bathrooms every year for the rest of their career. So, you know, we hire somebody, it's cheaper. It's the same crew that does the lawn mowing out there for us. So.
Okay, how about this poison ivy?
We don't typically ask our guys to get into poison ivy either, but,
Oh, yeah, but
if there is somebody that is highly allergic to it, we would offer them to get them vaccinated. I didn't even know there was.
I didn't either. I just thought that if you're susceptible to it, stay the heck away from it.
So, yeah.
I kick it for people because I don't catch it. So it's like
That's not right. I've never had it, and wife's 100 feet of it, she starts to.
So, but yeah, so I just don't think it needs to be here as far as a policy. And if it is something, it would be addressed in the administrative handling of how we treat the employees.
Any other questions on that one? Okay, and the go away pile. Okay, hourly employees report late to work /tardy.
Don't even know if this one was adopted.
You can't find
Yeah,
the
I-
adoption date of it.
It was in the policy most recent folder.
Okay, so there's no evidence that we've ever done this or adopted.
No, but we we just want to say it's part of a rule. It's not something the board has to have a policy for. It's how we enforce the rules on the
So
employees.
we're not really making it go away because technically it was never there. Okay. Go on. Life insurance.
This would be for the admin employees that we would provide minimum 40,000, but typically will mirror their annual salary. That's in our benefit package of the employee handbook supplement.
So it's already
It's already
covered
in
in the benefit package.
Okay, so again, redundancy of unnecessary verbiage.
Yes, that's what we're trying to do is clear this up. We had 170 policies. We hope to get it down, somewhat more reasonable.
Okay, anybody have any other questions or concerns about this one? Okay, I guess we're consensus to go away.
The benefit package is 1 year's salary now. That's what the administration. Okay, thank you.
Over age 65 life insurance.
Yeah, this was a policy from back in 97. Yes, and we do have employees over 60. We're not gonna change or reduce any benefit. They're gonna get the same benefit as anybody under, so I'm not sure why we have to have a board policy stating this.
Okay, so this is just,
This is complying with the, age
It's the law.
discrimination.
We don't need a policy. We have to follow the law.
I mean, we can't discriminate.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we don't need to, okay, so I guess we're all in agreement, that one goes with. Okay. Personal preventive actions.
A lot of this falls under our EEOC policy. That we're required for discrimination and.
And you already have a policy that talks about basically everything you need to in that EOC.
Okay, so again, sort of duplication of
Yeah,
a lot of
because
unnecessary
and this one was adopted in '93 and never changed. So the EOC probably came in after that with a more, comprehensive.
It's the law. We gotta follow the law.
Okay, so that one goes away as well.
pre-employment physicals, we're pretty confident that that should be administrative policy and administrative rules. We're gonna handle that here in-house. I don't understand why.
Post offer.
Yeah, it's post offer, you know, we set it up for them. We have a doctor, we do everything for it. And we aren't gonna change that no matter what. I mean, we want to know that for the benefit of the commission.
Seasonal.
We even do our seasonal. So there's not really a need to have this as a policy as it's already in the all employee rules.
Again, this is a redundant,
Yeah, most of this first meeting is mostly redundancies, getting rid of, cleaning up. Next time we'll have some that are some meatier discussion, but we'll get through the clean out at first, hopefully.
okay, we all in agreement this one goes away? Any complaints? Okay, it goes, bye-bye. Administrative retirees flexible medical reimbursement.
Yeah, so back in the day, they used to have a plan where they would reimburse retirees. That all changed in, I think, 2015 when they switched over to the healthcare savings plan. And then the eligible retirees that were post 65 got $112 a month in lieu of employer provided health insurance.
Yeah.
So this one should have gone away. It may have, I don't know.
Well, we still had didn't we still have a liability at that point too? For this type, did we not have? It's just something in my mind. I'm trying to think back. It seems to me we had an expected cost for medical reimbursement for retirees, and
We don't have this type of.
but we had like 2 people left on it or something at the time. I mean, this
There were some pre-65 people at the time when they eliminated it, and they were offered $500 a month until they turned 65, and then they went away. So I don't know if that's what you're thinking of.
yeah. Well, I thought there was a payoff or something. Maybe that was one.
Yeah, the ones that were younger got more that were.
The ones that were under 65,
Under 65,
they didn't get the 112 for life.
Right,
They got the
Till-
$500
until retire.
But if
till
we
they
haven't
got
been
that.
doing,
No, we don't
reimbursement
we
for
don't
5,
do any.
then let's.
Yeah.
It may have gotten eliminated in one of the board meetings. I don't know, but just for housekeeping,
Right.
that we're sure that we should.
Well, it was a holdover from the defined benefits
Yeah.
package too.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so dated, unnecessary, goes away. Retirees flexible medical reimbursement.
Be the same,
Yeah,
same thing.
same thing. Old news,
Not
when
being
the law
done.
used to be different.
Yes.
I guess there's two pages.
Yeah.
Okay, safety, incentive, and recognition.
So the big thing with this one is we currently have got a group together that's a mix of people, the staff within the organization. And they are putting together a safety manual that's going to be all encompassing so that at that point, we may have some sort of, incentive type thing, or maybe some other recognition for people who are going above and beyond to make the organization a safer place. We haven't done this, as far as I can tell, for 15 years, maybe. I mean, it's been that long since we've had an active safety committee really going on. So when the new safety committee is done, we feel even at that point, then it's an administrative thing. We'll deal with it as a personnel issue and try and get people to be safe and everything else through other methods, as well as some sort of end of the year thing for people who have done things that help the commission be a safer place.
Yeah, these are discretionary amounts anyway that the administration can handle. Anyway, so.
We have a safety policy.
Right.
That will keep.
Rigorous safety policy.
And it's gonna be getting better.
Okay, so I guess we're all in consensus. And that one is in the go away pile. Disability insurance.
This is in our administrative employee benefits package of what we provide for short and long-term disability. The union has that same language in their current collective bargaining agreement.
And that's the next. Any objections to this? I guess we're in consensus of that as well. All right, go as well.
Now this is, the next one is, it says, it's the same section policy number, but it's like completely.
I think it got superseded with the one that was revised in 2015, but again, it was still in the policy most recent. So I'm not sure if it formally was removed or not, but we don't follow this. We don't have sick pay anymore, sick banks, and you know, we offer insurance now.
Yeah, well, this older one doesn't specify administrative or otherwise, so this, you know, this is something that's covered by our union contract.
No, when you look at the policy number, when you see the A at the end,
Yeah,
that
is, oh, that's
administrative.
administrative, okay, all right, thank you, that clarifies that.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we got 1978, 93, 05, but, okay. So I guess, we're all in consensus on this one as well, all right? Vacation,
We don't have it.
we don't have vacation, so
We have PTO.
okay. So this is
And that's-
addressed elsewhere in administrative and union rules, and it's
Yes,
just a lot of verbiage laying around.
right.
So the only thing we have now is
Okay, the only thing we're gonna bring back then that, in the near future, maybe, next week, their next month's meeting is the conflict of interest policy.
Okay,
Okay.
My question would be, could we see these sooner than
yes,
tonight?
this one took a long time because we were going through the format of how we were gonna approach it. And then we had a couple of people that were off for extended periods, so we had some other issues, but you'll see the next one's probably the end of next week.
Well, I still think it's good that we sat down, we went through them.
Because these were the easy ones too. We specifically chose the ones that need to just be removed right now. So we're gonna move them into their appropriate new locations. And there will be some massaging done for the next ones too. We're gonna have the existing policy, and then we're gonna have some rewrites, and you'll have your edits and everything with them, so you'll be able to see that. And hopefully we'll be able to get those out to the end of next week with the next group we had talked about. There's probably not gonna be, we're gonna try and keep those because there's more discussion, to around 10 to 15 of them at most in a given night. Because otherwise, if we get into discussion on something, some of them could stretch out pretty far.
I guess we will need a resolution then, based on the blue sheet here, item G. There are 24 items listed. Item 6 is going to be
Kept and everything
pulled
else.
out. Otherwise,
The policy.
we need to, I'm not sure how we would. Go ahead, Mr. Wordsmith, verbalize it for me.
I make the motion that we accept the recommendation except for item 6.
Rescind.
Rescind the policy.
I'll support that.
Okay, we've got motion and support. Any other discussion? Thank goodness there is none. We will have a
Well, we
roll
appreciate.
call.
Gilman,
Yep.
Freeman,
Yes.
Underwood,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Mauser.
Yes.
Hey, Bill,
Yes.
I'd like to just chime in on Alan's comment too about the blue sheet getting them sooner. We've had that discussion in the past that, because we were getting bombarded with blue sheet things, that we need them quicker than the night when we sat down. So you have a chance to look at that stuff. Sometimes it just happens, but we have had that discussion in the past too, that, because we were getting a lot of blue sheets every time we walk in and no chance to look at it, so.
Well, this one, yeah, this one was just one that was, unfortunately, things kind of stacked up on us with some of our people out of office, and other issues going, but, that's like I say, it was something that we figured we would go through them, no matter what, we're gonna go through them. Those were all fairly straightforward, so it wasn't gonna be as big of a issue.
Of course, anytime anything comes up before the board, any commissioner can fail. Less than a high comfort level can always have it tabled or moved to the next meeting. Okay, that would bring us to item 7, informational items. I don't know that we have any.
Yes,
Oh, okay, information, item A, yes, information, item 7A,
So-
GTCRC on property.
there is a property need for a company here in this area. And they are not having any luck finding it, so, location for it. So Chuck Thorne called me to say, hey, even if it's not this one, do you guys have any plans for the strip of land here? Because
Across the road.
yeah, that
corner
goes across from Albert Drive there. So it's, we have a stretch of land there. It's about 10 acres that we aren't using. The question is the board at all interested in selling off that section of property? And then if they are, do you have a preference as to when we would be looking at it, or do you want to just take each individual thing that comes through? Because this will be the third person in the last 2 years that's been wanting to use that land. So the one fell away, and then Beta took across the street instead of using it. Now this is a third one. It's a business here that's currently in Garfield Township that needs to expand, and they can't find anything zoned properly in Garfield Township.
Which this is for this particular individual's desire. I guess, we're not in the land speculation business. When Beta looked at it, we sort of gave it a lukewarm, make us an offer. We don't have a for sale sign on it, but we're not really, it's there. It's not costing us anything. So I guess we just need to update, that thought. Because selling it to somebody like a Beta as compared to a private owner, I don't know if that makes any difference or not, but.
Well,
Go ahead.
one of my major disappointments in the last few years is the way that a property sale was made in Whitewater Township by the county board. They sold it to a conservancy at $100,000 less than what a private bidder was willing to pay. And my thought was, that's taxpayer money. So if we're going to go about selling it, we definitely have to have some expressed interest to start with, but we have to have a realistic expectation of what we're going to get, and then we have to go through a bidding process. We just have to, and we have to follow the bidding process and take the high bid, and frankly, not pull one of these. We're not going to sell it to a private individual because they're going to do something with it.
And I don't have any objection. I just want to know if you want us to pursue it at all or not, right? Well, do we even want to discuss selling it at this point?
I don't think it's anything that's ever off the table. We're buying land in Kingsley, for crying out loud, and we're going to spend a good deal of money. If we can recover, 10 acres right here is pretty valuable property.
Yeah.
And that can go far as far as what we're doing here and our other long-term projects and what we have to contribute to our long-term projects.
I think first question is would we ever have a need for it? And if the answer is no, then I think, okay, we're willing to talk. And then I guess it's just a matter of the methodology. If we're going to let a private individual come in and say, I'm going to make you an offer, say, well, no, sorry, we can't do that. If we decide we're going to sell it, now we do have to put it out there to the public and say, anybody who's interested in this on this date needs to bid on it, basically. Or can we take a market value offer, I guess is. Which
I would be opposed to any, unless it's another governmental agency, without it going through the absolute open
open bid process. We would advertise. We say we would advertise.
We have to have our baseline,
We would advertise, we have this property for sale, we're willing to sell it, and for the next 30 days, we'll accept sealed bids on it.
With the right of refusal.
Yes, with the full right of refusal.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that, yeah.
I guess that's what we have to let staff know is, are we interested in selling it all, and then what methodology are we insisting upon to do that?
Do we have that methodology already set up in any, so we do have a way to do it, so we just have to figure out if we want to do it.
Yeah, we got Carrie's already done stuff like this for other agencies, and she's got a contract that's pretty standard that she uses as a bid, and you just send it out, and she puts all the legalese that if we don't like the proposal of what's gonna be there, we have the right to refuse the sale.
Do we have time for a short story?
Sure.
Short. As far as I know, a few years ago, the board was considering selling the Sheriff Bensley wanted
The pit.
a pit.
Yeah.
And was going to receive the pit. And at the time, I wasn't communicating with the board then, but to keep it from being sold, a friend of mine who also wanted it made an offer, and I think sort of confused the issue.
Well, there was discussion that it was quote unquote worthless and mined out.
Right.
And then there was discussion, the sheriff was looking at various sites to put in, a shooting range. And the very question came up, is another governmental agency, are we gonna be good guys and let them either lease it or buy it? They didn't have any money to buy it anyway. It was gonna be some sort of, if they could get a grant or use it or whatever. And then we did get an unsolicited offer, to buy this quote unquote worthless mined out piece of property. And it did get a little confusing. And we just said, time out, never mind, forget it. And then eventually I think they got the shooting range out.
The reason I bring it up is now this piece of property, this worthless piece of property, it's now where we just bought a conveyor for $114,000 to go help mine that sand at that spot.
It is supplying all our sand for the next.
We're
not gonna buy it
years.
But there might be something else. I think we don't have that much property.
Right.
And we should keep it. This would be my vote. But if it comes to a vote, I would say the policies are quite unclear, and something that I know personally happened has been favorable now to the road commission with this Shell Road property.
Well, we had suspicions that we didn't verbalize as much as we should have. Maybe,
Okay. But it was good to have an offer show up, I guess.
Well, yeah, that pit will produce sand for what we need for 50
I'll tell you,
years.
it's really difficult to get a pit. I spent $100,000 and a year out in Benzie County trying to turn some property.
It's
I had
not-
into a
not-
pit. It's a real,
Not in my backyard.
right. The planners say it's the planner that I used told me it was the absolute hardest thing. When we went in there, he said, the last guy I tried to do this for eventually lost his family and went bankrupt and committed suicide.
The guy up north.
Yeah, the guy up north by Petoskey.
Well, I mean, I asked the Alpers what they go through every time they try to get, they've been using that for what, 2 generations now?
At least, yeah.
But yet they got to jump through hoops and almost bleed to get permission to continue doing what they've been doing for generations.
So, I was at one of those meetings.
Yeah, so, Southeast Michigan, I guess there's almost, Hatfield, McCoy's shooting going on back and forth about pits and where they should be and couldn't be and cost of aggregates, for example.
That's all I thought the story was appropriate.
Well,
because
yeah,
of the
no, it
keeping-
is, and
We don't have that much land.
no, but this is a little different deal. It is kind of prime roadfront property. And we're not speculators, we're not landowners. Do we need it? Are we ever gonna need it? Is there any reason to hold on to it? Especially if we can take that money and use it to buy something that we can use.
I thought at one point it seemed to me, there was talk of trading properties for property that's contiguous to us that we could expand into.
There's probably back here by the church that gives
Right.
us access
Right.
maybe or possibly
Yeah.
Yeah.
to.
And we talked to the church and they were thinking about it, and there's never really been a pushback from them. We've tried to get
But
some
we could
idea of
always
what they want.
Offer to buy that property as
Yeah,
well. At
so
some
they
point.
would sell it, they just don't know what they want for it, and the problem is, part of it is like right on the edge of a wetland, so you can't really build the driveway right there, so you gotta move in a little more.
Unless we mitigate it or something.
Yeah, but it's, I mean, it's still an offer from them to move that would be usable for us if we ever needed to expand that way.
It just hasn't become a hot enough button.
No,
for either
because we
property
have
to
still
start pushing
have
on.
so much land here
Yeah.
that we aren't even using outside the gates.
I guess my bottom line is if we're gonna do some sort of strategic planning, that's where we decide what we want. As we're looking at that long-term effect.
And this particular property wasn't the only property these people were looking at. It was just that it was giving them, I think, a list of say, hey, there's 3 or 4 places that this property zoned for what you're asking for. And one of them happens to be the road commission and it's not for sale, but hey, let's ask them and see if they'd be interested. Kind of thing.
From a public policy perspective, though, it's kind of like having too much money in the bank. If you have too much money in the bank, you're not providing the level of service that your taxpayers are paying for. And so, in terms of owning property that really has no practical use to us in any immediate or even short or midterm aspects, it really, it kind of behooves us to look at it seriously, if getting rid of that and at least actualizing that asset into our operation doesn't serve us better.
On a smaller scale, sort of like when the school district there had what, $40 million in their fund, and they said, why are you using that to make kids smarter? So it's an optics thing and it's a sensible thing. So I guess that is a decision we have to make is what's our policy, and we'll make a decision, I guess. So that's something.
And if we want to hold off and discuss it, next time, that's fine.
Yeah, and I mean, they haven't really
And we
come
can-
to us and said, hey, we got this hot prospect, if somebody wants to
Right.
buy it, we need to move on it. I mean, it seems to be that this end of business is, looking at numerous places and decisions, and it's not, I need to know this week or I'm gonna go somewhere else.
Does it benefit the public if we consider this over long term to get back on the tax rolls too? Would that be?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Would that be
Exactly.
advantageous to us?
We're not talking-
What's back on the tax rolls?
Absolutely.
It's business.
That'd be considerable.
And employees, I mean, it'd be a business.
Exactly, and jobs too.
But again, do we have a strategic plan of where we're gonna be 5, 10?
No, and that's one of the things
So-
I'm talking about, managers now.
So I think we really need to come up with our master plan and see how that piece fits in before we just say, yeah, we're gonna sell that. Doesn't say we're not going to, but it just, what do we vision, where are we headed? This area is gonna be absolutely different in 15 years.
Yeah, 5. Yeah.
Look at the last 15 years. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah. Okay, I guess, we're not gonna move on this. Like you said, in comments, you have strategic planning discussion, and we'll bring this up to the next meeting as how it all incorporate into the strategic capital property discussion.
Okay,
Okay, B, Paradise Property Purchase.
it's more than just the purchase, but I wanted to give you an update of where we stand with the state. I talked to another person there, and their feeling is that is a asset to the community because it's an urban forest and it's a naturally occurring urban forest, which I've never seen naturally occurring.
Red pines in a row.
But that's what they say it is.
Red pines in a row naturally occur.
tree farm that got away from them.
But they've talked to us about it, and they're basically, what they want to be sure of is that we're not building something there that is just an absolute clear cut of everything out there that is unless it's going to be part of the actual facility, and then whatever we disturb, that we actually put some thought into what is replanted around us, as opposed to just, you know,
And that's a fine thought.
and so that's their main thing is they, because the property itself, if it has what the state has a forestry reverter clause, so that it goes back to DNR forestries if the township doesn't want it anymore. The other thing is, if we buy it from the township, they said they get half the money and the township gets half the money. So,
Which considering the township got it for free, is not really all that bad a deal.
yes. So we are moving forward, but unfortunately with the orders from the governor, nobody in there works in the office. And it takes like 4 days to get a phone call back. So it's slow, but sure, we are making progress. There's a couple of things we need to do to give them assurances, and I'm gonna have to work with Carrie to get, you know, what we agree, what we understand the cases to be, and send them a letter that is probably signed by myself and the chair to say, yes, we understand this is the case, and we will include it in the deed upon terms of sale. So that if we ever give it up, it goes back to being, we can't sell the property, it goes back to being a forest parcel. That could be 100 years from now, who knows? So,
What me worry?
exactly. So, other than that, it's you know, it's a slow process, but we are moving forward. We have a lot more information here for you. Larry, can you pop up the displays here? We got
the J email.
Yeah, you got an email from Jay. And it's a, should have come in right, yeah.
Road Commission Kingsley Design.
Yeah. So this is a building that might be a little bit larger than we need. But their package pricing and how these things work, they gave us something that would be optimal to fit all of the vehicles that we said would be down there, including the loader, including a couple of the other pieces of equipment, the trucks that are down there, the patch buggy, and it has, this one includes the offices within the building because there is extra space on this package that they felt was a good size for us and it would work out well, as opposed to originally what they had talked to us about, which was putting the office space outside the building and just build it with regular construction material outside of it so that we wouldn't be paying as part of the steel building. When they finally did their calculations, I believe this is what they came up with as a ballpark for the size of it.
And what are those dimensions for those of us that?
It's 126 or 106, I believe, or 96 of the actual steel building wide. Over on your left there, 220. Yeah, so that's your length, but then on the left, it's the second dimension in, not the first one, down.
Yeah.
So it's 92 or 97, I think. 92 feet. And then 131 includes the lean-to off the side of the building there. So if you look up, that is all lean-to area right there.
It's not salt line, that's a whole different building.
Yeah.
That's for cold storage of equipment and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Keep it out of the snow.
And also, it also stays,
So the total width.
Right.
yeah, and that's also where our cold patch that we would store at that location would be, so that it's out of the sunlight.
There's a hell of a roof.
Yeah, it is.
Well, we've got some next pictures here. Go ahead and page down, Larry.
That's an elevation.
That's our salt barn.
Okay.
It shows the way the salt barn is constructed, and the the dash line is the salt of how the salt could be stacked in there. That being dependent upon us having the stacker, which we now have. So, you know, it gives us the ability to stack easily up to that elevation. And that leaves us We went with a slightly larger barn than we actually need for storing materials so that we have a mixing location to mix sand and salt inside and leave it inside the actual barn.
And I think they mentioned that this is not a new plan, this is a cookie cutter that they built numerous times already, so we're not paying a bunch extra, you know, architectural design.
And both of these are things that they've already done.
The salt
You
barn,
might find these in other road commissions
Yeah,
around the state.
yes.
salt barn, it's a wood truss building.
I'm not
I'm
sure.
gonna guess that it probably is.
They'll show you on the next photos.
Corrosion-wise, I would think that.
Yeah, that is a slight mistake on their part. They extended it down to the south line of the property area there. It actually would be moved farther north. So Larry, move that clear area would be the area where the road is going across.
I think that's an old oil well site.
It is.
So we're not hitting the forest too
On
much.
the deed, right, and on the deed for that, it says that when they checked that for oil and gas, it was negligible for production. So that's why it sits as it is. They just left it at that point. So that whole setup would really be based so that the top of that gray road there, the top gray road, would be about the top of that clearing with the round circle, once the whole site was, yeah.
That's a heck of a.
Yeah, so it's not nearly as long. And then we would have a road that goes direct off of the bottom side there. That road would actually be kind of a little bit wider, doubled up, so that as we get down there and it comes around, it won't be actually connected like that. We'll have a loop inside, but we'll have the road that comes down and has drive type things in, so that as you come around the backside, if you can see where that path comes from the school, right there. Yeah, so that's where a road would be left off to match up with the school's property line. And then they would be paying for the road to get from our property and our need down to their school. And they are interested in pursuing this once they get some prices. And it would come in roughly to that T there on the school in the middle. Right.
They're talking about putting another school.
Yes, and they're
on their site there.
Yeah, they're about 55% sure they're gonna put the next school north of it.
Right.
So that by saving that much space, also, they have the ability to easily get down into the forested area, which is actually more of a natural type forest instead of the red pines that are perfectly spaced. But, you know, that is their intention too, is to have that drive join ours for their buses getting in and out, so that their buses don't have to drive through downtown Kingsley when they're coming in and out. Next slide, please, Larry. And now you have the main building and your salt barn on the bottom right, with the salt showing inside it.
And it makes more sense on that salt barn than what we got out there with that concrete on the inside instead of up against the wood like we've got.
Yeah. So, and those would be your three views there. And that's kind of what they're looking at. Like I say, the length of it may be shortened up, but these are ones they had with the exact package that they built, apparently at some other point, is from what my understanding is. Dan's been talking to him, but Dan's been off this week, so I'm not 100% sure of the details on that.
Well, we certainly don't want to build it too small.
No, and we're building it to have about 3 extra big truck spots in there, so that when we're doing summer work down in that area, and we have more trucks, we can keep them inside also. Because like if we start building, like when we did Grand Cal, we had 6 trucks sitting outside.
The building that's out in Kingsley now was basically designed for single axle trucks. And it's tight.
And it's a mess.
And it's falling apart. That building is falling apart.
So that's the buildings that they're looking at, for construction. Like I say, it may not necessarily end up quite that long, but we'll figure that out as we continue going through discussions with them. They also have a contract which will be up for you guys for signature sometime here in the real near future. So once we close we'll probably next month, hopefully be able to confirm purchase of the property as well as sign a contract with GT Construction.
Are you guys talking about GT as far as, I guess I'll call it the finer points as far as, since it's a design build document, self-performed work as opposed to subcontractor work and pricing.
They'll have all that, and they'll have all that information for us next week.
Okay, so they're gonna submit that to us for our review, and then we can negotiate from there and depending on what we see.
Right, and I'm assuming it'll be you and Carl again that'll come in and sit down with us and go through all the stuff and meet with them, so.
If anybody else wants to be there, they can be, but if it's a quorum, then it'd have to be advertised and posted this meeting.
So, and and at some point here in the near future, we need to make it Kingsley to talk to them as a board to say, hey, we want to put this building here and we want to have water and sewer and we want your blessing.
But we haven't had any direct feedback from Kingsley yet as far as they're totally in agreement or.
When I last talked with Dan, he said that, they had some questions and they wanted to talk to us about the facility overall. There's still apparently some concern with the traffic impact on 13.
We're just shifting it from the west side of town to the east side of town.
Yeah, traffic's gonna be over there.
And we're shifting it to a slower speed limit zone than we're currently in.
And the potential down the road, of course, is the whole school not coming through their downtown
Right.
and coming out to the main direct.
Yeah.
It's better access for the school.
It's
Yeah.
a win-win.
And it's a real win too for both the city and the schools, because they both get salt from us. And that's right in town. So for them to have to get salt, the school, they don't even have to get on the road. The school just comes up the drive, grabs the salt and uses it and heads out.
Right.
But the city or the village can come through and grab it, and it's right in town. They're not driving out to the outside edge, and they can go whichever way they need to go from there. So that's where we stand right now, and unfortunately, we are still working with the state. They are. So we'll keep moving forward with it.
Yeah, I noticed on that site plan too, we had the building, the salt barn and that, but I didn't see the fuel island and
Yeah, they didn't put the fuel island because we weren't 100% sure of layout, so they didn't start getting into the fuel island
And I
stuff.
think from the preliminary meeting at Grand Traverse construction was that there were a few items that would remain our responsibility, and that was like security fencing around the perimeter as far as any gates and so forth, and security gates. So those would be still our responsibility, our contractor, as well as the fuel island. We would be responsible for that as well. They would have to coordinate the placement, and as far as getting power to those areas, but not necessarily wiring them up or securing them.
Yeah, so they would build the island, but they would not take care of any type of tank or pump stuff. That'd be like
People
Larson.
do that.
Larson.
Yeah.
2000 personnel, we have contract with them.
Right.
And same thing with security gates and security that,
Right.
their obligation to be run some conduit out to a certain point.
Right.
And as far as what we put out there is
Up to us.
up to us, and it would not be covered under their contract. They would be responsible for it, which is pretty standard. Especially since we don't know what we have to do. Okay, any other questions on that? If not, then we would move to manager's comments.
Okay, I got 3 things. First of all, unfortunately, the union did vote down the contract. We have some people that apparently were upset because in this first original phase of it, they were only gonna get a nickel because of where they fall on the scale and how the new progression system was. And everybody has within them the ability to easily get up another step from the people that are in that nickel range. They could have been easily moved up to another grade if they put the effort into it, and that would happen within the year. But I don't think it was explained as well as it could have been to them by their union reps. And so they were looking at it, and there was 4 people. One of them knew he was moving up, so he wasn't terribly uninformed, but the rest of them were very bitter, and they were stirring the pot back there to saying to vote no. So, you know, they voted no, and they're back to the old ways of not getting paid for holidays as far as it counts towards overtime. So holiday pay is holiday pay, but it doesn't count towards your overtime calculation. So if they come in on a Saturday after holiday, they're getting straight time. So, and they're upset about that too. That's up to them though. They have not sent anything back to us with a counter or anything that they want to discuss. So at this point, we're just gonna wait. We've got the June.
Yeah. Is Donick retired?
No.
It wasn't, he was gonna put this one to bed and then he's gonna retire?
He has one more that he still has to do now, but
we're the last one except for the other last one.
well, the other one came up that they had to get in because of some other reasons apparently, but so we are still willing to work with them, but at this time, it's probably something that we just don't, as an administrative section, we don't have the time to negotiate right now with the start of the construction season right around the corner. We're all running crazy. Bill's about pulling out his hair. He's gonna look like me by next meeting because he just closed out the year. So, there is that. The second thing is strategic planning. We've been discussing it now a little bit more in-house, and we really, really want to put together a strategic planning session. Trust me, I don't expect it to be as high as what was announced today for NMC. They're gonna spend $98,000 on it. I'm not thinking we're gonna be over $8,000 total, including our food when we're doing it, so.
Okay, so what are you proposing, is when and where and?
Well, that's the thing is, and I can bring up a list of people that I know around the area that have done them. And you guys can weigh those, or if you want, we can send out a little RFP for somebody to do it. Megan Olds, that was in charge of the East-West communication stuff, that her company, she does them. John Sykes used to work for Networks Northwest, and he's done them. And
Since he works for Garfield, would that be any type of conflict?
No, and I talked to Chuck. Chuck doesn't have a problem with it. He doesn't have a problem with it. We pay him a lot less than most people to do it because he knows us and he wants to be. All he's really going to be is the moderator. He's just going to guide us through and make sure that it happens and we don't get off topic. It's not like he's gonna set priorities. He's just gonna keep us on top.
What do you mean?
Okay, I don't know, anybody got any idea that?
So you tell me.
I guess the other thing is, since this would be considered more like hiring professional services attorney, we don't have to bid it out. We can go out, interview, get qualifications, statements, and negotiate a settlement.
Yeah.
Or a fee or whatever, without violating any.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, there are other people I know if you want to cross over into the Michigan Municipal League. I know some people from the Michigan Municipal League that do it too, that they might be willing to come up. They charge us more than they charge us or normal people.
Or anything. I don't think that's.
No, I don't think what we're gonna do is that complex, so we need, metaphorical
Basically,
brain
we're gonna
surgery.
be talking about our asset management and where we plan on being in the next,
It's a lot more than that too. It's just kind of, developing what we want our image to be and how we want to portray our image. How do we want to, well, you might be surprised, because right now, I will tell you that nobody in this building likes the current mission statement. Nobody. So that's just a thing, you know, it's one of those things.
Does anybody really know what the current mission statement is?
I
mean,
couldn't
half the time-
repeat it to you.
We've seen it before and it's been highlighted a few times.
Yeah, and like stuff like that, but also, you know, like determining, you know, what our long range plans are for different things, what our, you know, developmental plans are, where we're looking, where we need to have better partnerships, how we need to be dealing with townships, with the city, with the villages, you know, setting down some really good guidelines for how we want to proceed over the next 5 years with these townships to help them and us become better partners in as we're going. So there's a lot more than just what we do. It's what we do to interact with other people and how we're perceived.
Okay, so do we want to go ahead?
I was gonna say, so in picking the facilitator, is it appropriate to have you and Bill just come up with the recommendation, or?
Well, how about if we put together a little synopsis, I guess a written synopsis of what we're gonna be talking about and looking at, all those things you pretty much said here, only put them in writing, and then maybe at the bottom, put down 2 or 3 people that you're aware of, or maybe three, whatever, that you're aware of that have the capabilities of doing it, and I think we could say that we would prefer somebody local rather than bring in some, you know, big name heavy hitter that's gonna charge us more downstate.
No, somebody that actually understands the dynamics.
Our preference is local talent, and give us maybe 3 names and what the strengths and weaknesses of each are, if you're aware of that, and then we can put that on the agenda for next meeting, and that'll need to answer anything.
And then just so I can also get a little clarity is, you know, this is typically a full day occurrence. It's not something that you're gonna be here for 2 hours. It's not something that.
So we spend an extra couple thousand on food then.
So what I'm thinking is, the only question I ask is, do you want it to be during the week, or would you rather do it on a Saturday?
An all-day thing should be a weekend. I can't.
I guess
And these are open. too, right?
Yeah, we have to have it open to the public.
So I guess it's all day, I think Saturday would probably be a better.
Yeah,
Does anyone have an issue?
especially any of us that still work for a living.
Yeah,
Unlike the
unless we want to
ones
do like a 6 to 2 kind of thing, you know, I mean, it's.
From my experience, I've gone through a lot of these over the years, and from my experience, you know, it's typically you meet at 8. Yeah, everybody settles in, grabs some Danishes or whatever and their coffee and sits down. You're going by 8:30. You break at noon, and you're probably going to go till 4 o'clock, at least 4, maybe even 4:30 to finish up. And that's just for the day one. That's the busiest day. Then the moderator will help put together the summary of what we've discussed and all of the, you know, highlights and lowlights. And then we're going to come back and start assigning some weighted values to these to say, what's the most important for us right now? So you're talking about another follow-up day, but that one's usually, I don't know, Joey, you've been through a lot of them too, what, a half a day maybe?
Yeah.
And then then they'll put together an executive summary.
Mike actually has a pretty good program for this kind of thing. I've worked with him before on the county commission. He's done a pretty good job with this kind
Who's that?
of site.
But
Alright.
definitely a weekend, because the public wants to be involved, or.
Okay, so we got a synopsis.
Okay.
Suggestions.
Well, yeah,
some
we've
names,
already made plans
weekend.
tentatively based on the feedback here that yes, we would start working on it next week if we can.
And I don't know about else, but I think it'd be great that we time it at such a point, even if we have to wait till after March, where we can actually have the people in the stinking room with us.
Yes.
The facilitator, everybody here. You know. If the public wants to Zoom, fine, but the people who are here to be involved in it, to be in the room.
Well, I think if we have a facilitator, person has to be here.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And even if it means we gotta move to the basement, that's not a big deal. We can do it down there. There's enough room to social distance
more room for
downstairs.
There is that too.
You gotta put your food order in now.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, maybe we should, with that suggested menu items, we can all
Okay. And then the last thing, we had a pretty long discussion that's been going on for about 2 weeks, but we had a real long discussion about some of the issues that are arising here as people are interested in moving up, as I said, and there is actually someone on the crew out back whose ultimate goal would be to be the manager here. So we want to start, as people progress, we want to start doing some managerial and some motivational training, as well as, you know, how you become a leader instead of just a manager, you know, so you can do that. So we're going to start that, and we're going to have Jennifer, Jay, and Heather are going to be the spearheads on that. And they're going to put together something for our crew leads so that as we get going, we're going to develop progressions that we'll have for all of our employees, that if they want to go from here to here, or if they want to stop here, this is what they need to do so that they have it in front of them and they know what their options are to advance here at the Road Commission. So we're going to be working on that quite a bit, trying to get that together so that we can have, as things change, we've got a lot of projects coming this summer. I mean, a lot. So it's going to keep us very busy, and we're going to need help from union members to take crews on their own and go make sure they're taken care of. So we want to kind of give them some help to deal with it effectively. And then we'll potentially be coming into some stuff for some of the people on the admin side afterwards. So,
okay.
All right. That's it for me.
That's it? Okay. Anybody got any questions for manager? All right, that would take us to commissioners' comments, questions, and future agenda items. Any, there, Joe?
I have none.
I think I'm good.
I mentioned earlier, but Larry, just let us know when that app is ready so we can get those people out taking pictures of potholes for us.
I will do.
That's
If you ever have time to come and see some of the stuff he's done,
you know,
it's
I'm gonna
pretty
do it.
impressive.
I'm gonna get over here and do that.
You can see he's got stuff going, man.
Projects this year.
Road work we're doing. Have we seen a list?
We have a list, but we're putting the map together, and you guys will get that here probably in another week or so to see it before next meeting.
That's usually part of our budgeting process, which takes place in October, November kind of thing. But yeah, with you two guys, you would not have seen that, but
Yeah,
I
and
guess
it's basically, just so you know, for that, first thing we do is fund crack seal. Every street that's ready for crack seal gets crack sealed. Every street that gets ready for chip seal gets chip sealed, and then we start moving out into the overlays and the other bigger repairs. But yes, we have the completed list that's ready for bid, and we are just waiting, and Larry can chime in and tell me how long till the map is ready.
Yeah, I'm looking at probably the end of next week. Getting something together so we can see a map and, you know, share it. I'm anticipating putting it on the website so people can see it also, you know, for like construction detours, those types of things. So we can share that on the website.
I do have one thing because we're being an outfit on that. Are the bridges still online to start like the first week of March? The signage and
Close to that. It's all weather dependent.
exactly, but we're still in that first part of
Yeah,
March.
like
realm.
assuming things stay the way they are now, I think what was he off by like a week and a half or 2 weeks, I think. I think Wayne said they'd be off still by a week and a half to start, but they'll still be on time to do it for the on schedule. So
Yeah, okay. And then I'm assuming too, because that's a question, because I'm out on that in the county for a half, but the next question for basically anybody is, I'm assuming we're looking at frost laws here pretty quick if this weather.
frost laws will go on next week.
Next week.
Yes. Anticipation based on Benzie County and Kalkaska County, they went out and looked, and there was only about 2 inches of frost in the ground. So
next couple of days, take care of that.
So yeah, before they're actually on, they may be ready to come off, because we just did not have those cold days.
There's that couple weeks here.
Yeah, and so they actually have the frost tubes in the ground that you can look at each year, and they're saying, you know, a couple, 3 inches
Not much,
of
huh?
ice is all
That's
they got.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And then we've already had that 45-degree day, and this weekend's supposed to be 45
The
again.
next couple, 2 or 3 days are gonna be warm. Yeah.
So
Any follow-up on any the other stuff? Okay. Yeah, if you guys need any information on our budgeting process from last year, any additional information, you know, they can get that in your
We'll
hands.
come in with a budget amendment probably next month.
yes. And that's your next one for you guys. The last one that we'd like you to come to is just talking to Phil and I about how we did with budget and talking about the actual budget. I don't know, is next week Tuesday?
Still doing the.
We're getting some help. We're getting some help. Well, I think the first two were a little bit more overwhelming than what Phil and I will be. So, there's a lot of information in those first two.
Yeah, and there's a lot there. I don't know. It's, I should have brought in with me at the workshop at Gaylord. They had the handbook that you're supposed to have as a commissioner and all this other stuff that some of us have had in the past and it's probably tucked away in a drawer someplace. Haven't looked at it in years. But it would be nice to get you know in the hands of the new guys. I can bring mine in and share it with the stuff I got, because a lot of it I've got duplications of. And then I don't know, you've gone over the asset management plan?
We started with asset management, then last time we talked mainly about engineering and field ops and how they interact. And then also I talked some about the scoot and the signals and that. And now we just have like kind of the administrative end of how we do with things with funding and everything else, so.
Okay. Any other follow-ups on the follow-ups to the follow-ups? Okay, so much for commissioner comments. That would bring us to our second and last public comment. Is there anybody?
We got a couple people there.
Can we read it?
Yes.
Yes.
Any person may make an advanced appointment with the board regarding road commission topics for a regular or special meeting in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. If an appointment is made, the topic will be an agenda item. The following applies to public comments. Please state his or her name and address. Topic must be relevant to the road commission. Individuals are allowed to speak once for up to 3 minutes on a single topic, which may be extended by the chair. A group addressing the board requires a designated spokesperson who may speak up to 10 minutes. The board will not act on any item from the public that is not on the agenda. For remote access users, for Zoom, if you wish to participate in public comment, please raise your hand. For call-ins, we can unmute you. If you wish to speak, say yes.
I don't see no hands,
And no calling?
no call-ins.
This is our 30-second thing here.
12 seconds.
Okay.
Move to adjourn.
The appropriate time and motion to adjourn. Very timely. We are adjourned.